Hey listeners, it's Paul Andriola here. Why not join our community at Small Cap Discoveries, where we offer our members direct access to some of the best microcap investment opportunities available. Our members are getting access to premium microcap financings, research reports, and direct access to management. Sign up today at www.smallcapdiscoveries.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today is November 3rd, 2025, and today on our call we have the CEO, Francois Byrne from Hybrid Power Solution. Hybrid Power trades on the CSE exchange under the symbol HPSS, and it also trades on the OTC under HPSIF. The company is currently trading at 6 cents with about 85 million shares outstanding, or about a $5 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Hey, thanks a lot, Trevor. Francois, thanks for joining us today. Hybrid Power Solutions is a relatively new name to us. We just started really looking at the company over the last several months here. So great to have you on here to sort of explain more about what the business is all about.
Yeah,
You've got
thanks,
your
Paul.
presentation deck there. So listen, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Look, for since it's our first time, saying hello, I want to tell you guys a little bit about myself, and then we'll kind of get into the company. Going way back, I studied renewable energy engineering. That's where I got my first taste of the battery world, and then ended up racing hybrid race cars. So that's really where I played with batteries, and this was like kind of early days of Tesla. So the kind of paints a picture of where we were at and how batteries are still kind of a foreign thing. Anyways, went and did was a product engineer for a railway company. Got patent in low voltage to high voltage, high frequency power conversion, and then ended up doing an MBA, traveling the world for a bit, and then starting off Hybrid Power Solutions. And I love to say we're still a startup, but realistically here we've been incorporated for over almost 10, well, coming up on 10 years. So we're a little bit of veterans in this space. 10 years within the battery space is a lot of time. And our mission's always been to provide not just a sustainable product, because I think it's a great click word and it's got its place, but at the end of the day we're really creating cost saving devices. So what we build are fuel free and hybrid generators, and that incorporates a lot, but I'll give you a little visual here, and I'm going to skip through this deck and probably just only use a few slides here because I think that's what's most relevant to you guys. But I want to show you kind of the whole picture of what we do. So in this slide, you can see how we make small stuff. So the Backpack Energy, for example, our smallest power box, if you want to call it that. It is, it's a size of a carry-on suitcase, so quite small. So this is designed to power all your tools and equipment. So whether it be a construction site, a railway, or even into what's becoming more and more popular, kind of that military drone space. It's that portable power pack that's completely fuel free. So you press on, you plug in your devices just like you would a generator, and you're using it for a minimum of an entire shift. And the beauty of these things is you can recharge in three different ways. So you can do solar charging. So we've got these cool little like fold out solar panels. We've got a solar tarp that just came out, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. And you can also do AC charging. So obviously if you have access to the grid or another large generator, you can plug it in and recharge there. And then the third option is you can do vehicle recharging. And this is really interesting because not only from a military point of view does it allow you to give you that NATO 24-volt plug-in capability. So basically any tank or Bradley or any vehicle out there has got this 24-volt plug we can tap into, recharge these units. Or we can do 12-volt standard commercial vehicles. So if you're thinking, one of these large gas or electrical utilities, they've got anywhere from 400 to 10,000 vehicles, and they only power on their trucks. Well, we come in now with a system that can replace their onboard inverter system at the exact same price, but now it's got a mobile power source. You got the advantages there. So you got better performance, and you have the capability of replacing all those diesel and gas generators that they're putting on these systems. So not only are you tapping into this whole new segment within the defense and military space, where you're doing drones and recharging all these electronic devices that are so common, and then you're doing surveillance on top of that, but you're also getting into all the commercial side of things, which is really really important. And you're coming in with a product that's similar but has all these major specification advantages and just use case advantages on top of that. So our Backpack Energy Backpack Pros are kind of our small little portable guys, I like to call it. Jupiter's kind of getting into the big, still portable, still fuel free. And then everything bigger than that's so your Spark Cube and your Terra, these are truly your your microgrids or your mini grids. Same concept though. So we're using solar, we're using grid power to recharge them, but the big thing we're doing here is we are just coupling these things with existing diesel generators. So if our customers have an existing asset, so an existing diesel generator, they want to turn it into hybrid, they want to start saving money right away, they're going to hook it up to these and instantly turn their generators into hybrid. So how that works is our system takes control of that generator. It will, when the battery gets low, it will turn on the generator, recharge it, get to the top end, and we turn off that generator. So we're maximizing the efficiency of that fuel source. Once again, it's all based on cost savings. And with that hybrid system plus the integration of solar, we can achieve 60, 70%, all the way up to, we've got a site right now that's performing at 98% cost reduction. And that's really what I'm going after, right? So you're reducing not only your fuel consumption, so your price of operation goes down that way. You're also talking about maintenance, delivery, having guys go there and actually refuel these things. There's just a lot there. So the cost savings is quite high. So that's what we do. And we can, as much as this is kind of geared towards kind of a construction space where these would be powering anything from like a site trailer all the way up to a tower crane. There's also new avenues for us that we're looking into quite heavily, and partnerships that we're kind of in that early and later stage, depending on what product we're looking at here, of developing, where we could look at this Terra and go, okay, well, let's expand on this and let's look at data centers, right? It's kind of the hot topic these days. We're putting up all these really big power consumers, but how are we going to actually deliver that power? How are we going to offset, those massive bills? Well, we can use something like Terra or even a much larger version, which is what we're starting to quote as these larger, up to megawatt, 2 megawatt, 3 megawatt systems for these data centers. And so there's a lot of flexibility within our platforms to kind of expand from here. Okay. So some of our clients, we're kind of that small little company, scrappy little company, but at the end of the day, we've got some major clients. So TTC and Montreal Transit, which is STM, these guys have been purchasing us for 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. They're some of our earlier clients. Glencore was our first client ever. Ellis Don, one of the largest general contractors in Canada. Southern California Gas is a fleet of 200 of our Backpack Pros. Pretty extensive work that we've done with them. They're on track to save about $5.9 million US over 5 years just by switching those 200 units over to our product. Google, US Air Force. I mean, that's some big works happening within the US military space as well. All the way out to Japan. Canadian Armed Forces obviously going through their Ulnar Tactical Power Systems acquisition as well, and their Camp Sustain project. So we're doing some work there as well. So just a lot of upside, a lot of potential that we see in this market space, both on defense and infrastructure. That's really where we're starting to focus. So here's, I can talk all day about how the product looks from a 3D model and a screenshot here, but I think this kind of paints a better picture of what we're doing. So top left here is this unit out in Arizona. This is out with a large construction company there, where this actually is our record-breaking site, 98% cost reduction. They have a solar system powered up to this. It's powering a series of containers with offices and ice machines, stuff like that, other tools and equipment. Here we have it with one of Canada's largest residential home builders out here. SoCal Gas, we mentioned this one here, and that's their unit right there, and beautifully mounted on the truck. They do charging off the truck and off of the AC power input. And then we got this one down here in a undisclosed mine up in Northern Ontario as well. So just quite a variety of different opportunities that we have within this product range, but goal is always to lower cost and improve overall efficiency of the operator. Yeah, another big advantage that we have too on the on the military side is that because these can be used in a completely silent and fuel-free operation, you have very limited heat signature or no heat signature at all. With drone warfare kind of advancing, that's a major play where we can have drones overhead and not worry about it picking up what what our basically our generator. It also means we can put these things indoors. There's no fumes and nothing to worry about there. So it really expands the usability of drones and how you recharge them, because everybody's got a solution for the next big thing in drone and defense against drones, but nobody's talking about how you power all this equipment, and that's where we come into play. So we want to really be on the back end of all these initiatives. Yeah, from a historical point of view, so the company's kind of gone through this, this growth phase where we went into, we went public about 2 years ago, and we've just been really gearing ourselves up to really get that hockey stick kind of expansion into our business. We've really retooled our internal systems. We've also retooled our product line so that we can be in we can have as many different potentials as possible. And so, our latest focus, as you probably hear me talking, is definitely going to be on the defense sector and also on the commercial fleets sector. Those are the kind of the two primary. And then the third one is dipping our foot into the construction space. On the construction space, we're talking to a multitude of rental companies, some of the largest in the world, and talks are going really well. So it's quite positive. On the defense sector, we've made continuous progress. We continue to get orders on a regular basis, and we see that snowball effect starting to happen, which is great. So I'm really looking forward to what 2026 has to offer for us. On the fleet side, I had a fantastic call this morning with one of the U.S.'s largest fleets, utility fleets teams, and they've had a unit of ours for quite some time, and it's looking like it's going to the next step, and that's what we want to see across the board. We want to be able to dig down with those utilities, see what their pain points are, and just move them over to our system, because we have so many different advantages, and the talks have been extremely positive so far. So yeah, I think the company's it's kind of in that crouched tiger position, and we're lining ourselves up for a really successful 2026. We've got a lot of partnerships, and unfortunately, I'm not really privy to be disclosing that are hopefully going to be changing the financial outlook of our company in a really big way. And I think it's something that we've been leveraging for the past year, is really building those relationships with large partners who have that kind of brand power that we just don't have, but we have that technology that they don't have. So it becomes that perfect marriage. And by focusing on different industries and focusing on finding those key partners that we can help take our company to the next level, I think that's how we really accelerate this trajectory and get our name out there and get our product out there. So I'll leave it at that, Paul. I know there was a lot there, so maybe I'll leave it to you to kind of dive into some stuff that I may have missed.
You bet. No, thanks, Francois. Reminder, everybody, if you got questions for Francois, please use that chat function, and we'll ask that question. I saw a couple of slides there that was going to answer a couple of my questions. One is just generally for these type of units, like give us a sense of the addressable market, specifically to the markets that you currently have right now. So mining and construction, for example, what does that look like, and maybe some of the other low-hanging fruit areas? Yeah,
for sure. So to put this thing, I hate talking about addressable markets, because it's that massive, unbelievable blue market space. And this is the big thing, is that we tap into so many different spaces, where it be like construction, fleets, small generators, large generators. We are across the board in so many different places. For example, fleets, there's 4 million fleet vehicles, with 50% of them requiring some form of portable power source on them, just in North America alone. That is a lot. That's a huge market segment for us to be going after, right? And then the generators. So there's some numbers up here, but at the end of the day, it's what can we realistically address? And I think that the big one for us is going to be getting after those fleets, getting into these large operators, and becoming spec'd in. That's the biggest progress we've made over in 2025. Is we're starting to get spec'd into these very large players who now moving forward are only going to be ordering our systems. And each one of the customer lifetime value of each one of these customers is huge. We're talking jumping from, I think our current one's around $72,000 per customer. It's slowly creeping up. Every month we're like adding 3 or 4 grand to that. But what we're going to see in 2026 is we're going to be going to where these customers are now going to be having a yearly lifetime or a yearly value of closer to 800, 900,000, $1 million. And that's really important because now you can start hitting those higher revenue targets on a much smaller pool of people. And I think that's really what we're going to see into 2026.
Mm-hmm. And what's the format of the revenue you generate? You're selling these things. Is there any sort of recurring revenues or any maintenance you have to deal with? Any service revenue? How do you describe that?
Yeah, for sure. So, being a smaller company with limited capital, we have gone down just the straight purchase. That was kind of our first entrance into the space. But as we've expanded, there's kind of 2 or 3 different things that we're doing. So one is offering leasing. So as our capital grows, leasing becomes a very lucrative opportunity where you lease this equipment and take that 20 points per year on top of the straight lease rate. On top of that, you have a rent-to-rent model, extremely lucrative. So this is something that's quite new to us, but is looking like it's going to pan out quite well, especially in the construction industry, where you can partner up with a large rental house and rent the product, especially the larger Terras. And we're talking about a $335,000 Canadian sale price, so they're not cheap. Renting the Terra to one of those large rental houses, which then rents it out, and they're capable. And the reason for doing that is they're capable of providing all that other supporting stuff, the cabling, the transform, all that other stuff that we just don't want to get involved in. But you still make that rental income that is, a payback on costs on a rental or even on a rent to rent is like 14 months. And this product is typically around a 5 to 10 year lifespan. It's a lot of, revenue capability out of that one product. And then the third is that we've announced it, but we're going to be launching HPS Air in 2026. That's kind of a late Q1 of 2026 is what we're targeting. HPS Air is going to be remote monitoring capability on all of our products. It's going to be a subscription-based service where you're going to be able to track. So that's a GPS tracking capability, and then full remote monitoring of how much solar is coming in, how much power from your truck's coming in, all that kind of stuff. Does it require any kind of service? All that's going to be available on a singular platform. So, and when you're talking about certain players here that we're talking about getting 500, 600, 700 units, that's a lot of money generated from that recurring revenue model. And for the end user, there's kind of this, they're already paying for something similar on their vehicles specifically or on their assets anyways, which is typically going to be around that $20. So we eliminate that cost. So there's a very limited barrier to entry for us into that space. And we offer a lot more than what they're currently getting.
And then Francois, I mean, there's clearly it's a competitive market for this type of stuff. What would you say makes you guys better?
Yeah, we position ourselves as a tool. We are a ruggedized, portable generator. We are not a, use once in a while kind of camping gear. It's not that. Our customer base is using this to survive or to thrive. They're there using this to power their tools or to power something that's life-saving. And our product has that mentality in every single thing we do. It took us 6, 7 years to really get good at surviving shock and vibration in the worst conditions. I mean, these things live on the back of a pickup truck. They travel down the road. I mean, we've had these things fall off the back of trucks on the highway because somebody forgot to put the tailgate down. So we know tough. We know how to build these things so they survive through whatever. And that coupled with obviously our specifications that ensure that you can use jackhammers and core drills and all these really intense tools that are required in the trades, ensure that we are ahead of the pack. And we have that very precise line of communication with our customer that allows us to design with purpose. And being a small company, you don't have the advantage of a brand. You have the advantage of innovation and speed. And I think that's where we've really succeeded in innovating with purpose and innovating quickly and continuously improving our products so that we're ahead of the competition. I was complimented in so many ways when I heard one of the world's largest tool manufacturers calling us to try to buy a couple of units and basically bluntly saying they wanted to copy us. I mean, biggest compliment we could ever get. But yeah, you know,
Hmm.
that's the reason we do it, and that's the reason we stay ahead.
Hmm. Okay, let's talk about sort of the performance of the business so far. Give me a sense of revenues, your maybe your balance sheet. I know you just did a financing here. What's going to be use of proceeds? Let's talk about some of those core issues right now.
Yeah, for sure. So the major focus has been really streamlining our business over the last year, and poise us for growth. At the end of the day, you know, we did do a revenue increase. There was a 12% increase, which is fine, and a 50% decrease in operating costs and expenses, excuse me. And so that, you know, that was a lot of hard work to get us to where we're just much more of an efficient business, and we're looking at profitability as quickly as possible. Um, a lot of the legwork was really done so that we could thrive in 2026, and laying the framework for that foundation, but also the scalability, right? It's great if you can get 1,000, 2,000, you know, this is 2 million, $3 million orders. But you got to be able to service those. You got to be able to build that product, and creating that back end work. You know, it's not the sexy part of it all, but it is the most important.
Hmm.
Is creating that back end from an engineering point of view, and also from just a straight business point of view. And your ERP systems, your processes, all that stuff,
Hmm.
getting it ready for those 1,000 unit builds. And you know, the later half of this year has really just been quoting these large projects where there's MOQs of 1,000 units,
Hmm.
and you know, we're really hoping to execute on that, and that's why we see this trajectory. And I kind of hate putting, you know, what's going to be our forecast for next year. Um, but I think it's going to be explosive. And I think, and the reason for that is just because we've been so focused on building that foundation, but also building those partnerships with super large clients who are seeing the value of what we do, and who really want to take this to their markets, and their markets are massive, and their distribution channels are insane. So I think that's where, you know, we see the company going. You know, we hit just under 3 million last year, so
Hmm.
it's not significant numbers. Where I'd love to be is at least double that, if not triple. And I realistically see enough in our pipeline to far exceed that. Once again, these are just my predictions. It's just you know,
Hmm.
a lot going in the background, but you know, I'm excited about 2026 for sure.
Hmm. And what kind of revenue level do you think you have to get to say break even or show a small profit?
Yeah, for sure. So our current break even point is hovering around 5.5, 6 million. So we've got some work to do. But as I said, I think, you know, there's some contracts, you know, there's some contracts that are some quotes out there that just a single one of these orders could blow
Hmm.
that roof off. So and you know, a lot of that is attributed to being public. Obviously, a small cap company or micro cap company is
Hmm.
expensive. You've got 3 accountants on a team that probably only needs one if we didn't have all these requirements.
Hmm.
But you know, we're structured for being that 20, 30, 50 million. And our goal is to hit $100 million in revenue over the next 3 to 5 years. And you know, we're pretty excited about that. The whole team's behind us on that, and they see that vision.
Hmm. And how long have you been public? You haven't been public that long.
No, we're just coming up on our second year,
Second year,
or
yeah.
two
And
years. Yeah.
yeah. And I think 85 million shares outstanding. Maybe give us a breakdown of the insider ownership and any other significant investors.
Yeah, for sure. So 28 million shares of that are myself and my family. Those are the only significant owners right now. So most of it is retail. Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay,
it's
gotcha. And then what sort of keeps you up at night right now? What's the biggest challenge you face as a business?
oh, um, so I had a partner come up, or a potential customer partner. I call them partners because it's a little bit more than just a sales transaction. Approached me a few weeks ago and said, you know, how we love what we see, we
Mhm.
love what you do. We are worried about how you're going to hit um, those MOQs, and also our projections if we were to go forward with you. You know, what's your financial backing? So I think
Mhm.
that's what keeps me up at night is really having that core of investors behind us who's willing to say, hey, look, you know what? We've got a $10 million opportunity. We got a $10 million PO. Yeah, we're going to be ready to help support that growth, and help
Mhm.
support the financing of that inventory. You have to remember that we are a manufacturer, right? We're a
Mhm.
design assembly firm, and there's a capital requirements under that. It's great because we have our own, we have IP, we have assets, we have things that back that, and it's a true, we're not just buying and selling. We have true value to what we bring, but it is capital intensive. And so I think that's what keeps me up at night is how do we make sure that we have access to that capital when we need it to really expand this business? Because as I said multiple times, it doesn't matter if you've got all the orders in the world if you can't fulfill them.
Yeah, exactly. And I should have asked, like, gross margins. What's a typical gross margin on one of these products, or maybe a blended version?
Yeah, so gross margin blended right now is around, last I checked, it's around 36%. So I've just finished off a meeting with my head of engineering, and we've got so one of the use of proceeds, maybe we should touch on that for a little bit here. One of the line items on the use of proceeds with this current financing round is spending about $100,000 to improve our product margin. Our engineering team has basically worked out that with the $100,000 in spend, they can improve our product margins by about 10%. So it could go quite far. So obviously that's an investment we want to make. Other aspect to that is going to be the inventory and working capital, the boring stuff, getting more inventory in, and also just getting a little bit higher on the numbers so that we can get better rates and therefore better margins on our pieces that go into this thing. The other thing is going to be improving sales, and so growing our sales team. We're doing a lot of this work off literally the back of like 1.5 salesperson. Imagine if we had a team of 4 of highly trained, people going out there and actually pounding the pavement and understand and making sure our name's out there. So sales, right? There's trade shows to attend. There's places to fly to. There's people to see, and there needs to be a team that's a rock star team behind that, and that's what we're going to be focusing on building.
Fantastic. Okay, a handful of questions have come in. Why don't we jump on these and see how it goes? Okay, question from Trevor John. He says, "Are these units only for commercial use, or can they be used as alternative power supply for RVs and electric bikes?"
Ooh, that's a great question. Yes, 100% they can be used for RVs, overlanding. Overlanding is a really interesting one because they require something a little bit more tough and ruggedized, portable. And as I said, these are fully outdoor rated, right? So we have clients who leave them in -20. I'm Canadian, so -30 degrees Celsius. We're gonna go with Celsius on this one. -30 degrees Celsius in a full blizzard, and they have to dig it out of the snow and then find it there and then turn it on and it all works, right? So there's a huge appetite in that space, and then RV for sure. There are people who just have, $100,000 rigs. They want the best of the best, and that's what they're going to get with our product. So yes, there's definitely a market in there. Are we going to be going after, the little camper who's out there once a year? Yeah, it's not going to be for us. There's some great little Chinese products at, 40% off what we make that'll do the job. So yeah, for those who want quality and ruggedness, yes, definitely. Is it something we thought about? Yes. Is there a plan in place? Yes. More to come.
Yeah. And give us a sense. You got a picture up there of 5 different products. Give us a sense of the retail price on these and yeah.
For sure. Backpack Energy 5,600, right around that ballpark. Backpack Pro 9,900. These are all MSRP prices, so obviously in bulk, we have tiered pricing as well for distributors. Spark Cube. So just going down the line, I'm not going to give you everything, but the Terra is all the way up to 335,000. So they kind of go all over the place. The Spark Cube, we also offer this as a hybrid, as I showed in this image here. So this is a fully trailered solution with the diesel. We even do a light tower on this if you want. So you can fully kit this thing out, and it's about $150,000 with the full light kits, the biggest battery packs, and the full diesel. We can put a 25 kVA diesel with a 100-gallon tank. And there's scenarios, for example, long-term surveillance. There's some companies we're talking to that are looking at long-term surveillance, and we're putting 200-gallon tanks, and so we can kind of customize it on there because they want to be 3 months remote without having kind of any kind of human interaction with it. So we can customize these things, and obviously, if you slap the military badge on it, you can also put another 20-30% premium on it as well. But yeah, there's a lot of different flexibilities within. But yeah, and a variety of pricing starting at $5,600 all the way to $335.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Okay, next question comes from Shai. He says, "What is the 10-year dream? Is the aspiration to end up acquired or to uplist?"
Ooh, loaded question. So, at the end of the day, I have a responsibility to my shareholders. We do have to look into any kind of potential acquisition. Are we ripe for that? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't great suitors out there. If you look at companies who have historically been just in the straight fuel generator size, that we do look very attractive, and there's a lot of other partnerships, especially within other segments that just want to get into this, and it's definitely quite attractive. So I can't rule that out. I do have to look at every deal as it comes to me, as it's presented. But yeah, uplisting, look, that's kind of my dream. Who wouldn't want to say that they're on the TSX or the NASDAQ? Like that's a life's goal that I get to check off. So I hope that answers your question. I mean, I'm not saying yay or nay to either, but yeah, just whatever gets us there. I think, once right now my goal is $100 million. Let's get to that revenue number, and then we can see where it goes.
We'll worry about it later. Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. Shai also says or asks, I am familiar with Jackery and Generac in the USA. Are these direct competitors? In what way do you win market share against such peers?
Yeah, for sure. So Jackery's that Chinese cheap one that I talked about for camping once a year. Go for it. Jackery's a great little product. There's a funny thing. Our head of engineering came from super R&D background, but he's actually taking apart most of those. So the Jackeries, the Blue Eddies, all these other guys, and it's all the same thing. It literally is all the same thing underneath the skin when you peel it all back, just different packaging on it. You drop them from more than a foot and a half, you're breaking these things.
You're done.
And they're great because they got 12 different USB plugs, and you got wireless charging and a speaker built in and a flashlight. Great for a party. 100%. That's not us. We've got on off, and we got a lot of power, and we got really quick charging capability. Like on the Backpack Pro, you could charge this thing if you had enough solar panels in an hour and be back up and running, right? It's a different monster. It's a different beast. They can have the low price sensitive guys. That's fine. We're going to take that premium market, and that's really where we're going after. With regards to Generac, look, Generac's historically been a gas, propane, diesel. That's their history. They do have some battery stuff. They actually bought a battery company to get into the space years ago. It didn't work out great. There's a whole history there. And then they bought their latest little, have like a little portable power pack that's similar to ours, like the Jackery. That's just a white label product. That is just a Chinese white label product. You can, if you're good with Alibaba, you can find that out. So,
yeah. What are the key components? Is there anything that you sort of have to, are volatile in price or have to get from offshore that might be a challenge? What's your supply chain look like?
Yeah, up until 2025, our strategy was North America, North America, North America. We had, and we've done a great job of achieving a pretty high percentage, and these all go USMCA compliant across the border, which is a key takeaway here because that means that we can go to the US without tariffs at this point in time. Knock on wood on that one. But really, what it came down to was it helped secure that supply chain for us. So, and it helped keep things in our control. The things that are harder to control. Cells. Our cells currently come from China, where those are the battery cells, right? Like kind of the raw component. They come from China. Now, we have used a cell format that 6 other companies make, right? So we're not married to who we currently use. So which is really nice. We can kind of switch out that battery as we need it, if we need to. And that's been key. We've been burnt, especially through COVID. We got burnt where we okay, we need to back up to every single supplier we have out there. So if somebody turns their back on us, we've got that next one lined up and ready to go. So yeah, that's been a big mission of ours.
Gotcha. Okay, next question comes from Russell. He says, would these be a good power backup for a home?
So once you get into home applications, you go with, there's a lot of additional regulations. So our Spark, Cube, and Terra have those additional regulations. So in theory, yes, they can. And we've even had a significant interest from some companies out in Florida. And the reason why Florida versus anywhere else is Florida has a huge amount of hurricanes. And they also have a lot of large homes that require air conditioning. And apparently they want air conditioning in a full hurricane. So there's an interest in purchasing something that's larger, that's outdoor, that's fully capable of surviving those kind of conditions, and the price tag they'll pay for that premium product. So yes, there's definitely it's niche, but is it going to be our primary go-to? Not in my opinion. And we already have too many segments to go after. Like our sales team, we have to. We're limited in resources. We really do have to focus on owning those silos before we start really expanding. But if somebody wants to buy it and put it on their home, go for it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, question from Curtis. He says, is selling the business an option or non-dilutive partnerships a potential? Current assets over current liabilities are quite a bit. Is the latest financing going to give you enough capital to get profitable, or do you see more financing needed?
Okay, lots of questions there. So
Yeah.
let's so I think I already kind of addressed a little bit of the acquisition thing. Yeah, with regards to partnerships that could be a little bit, could have some kind of acquisition or potential equity trade or something like that. Yes, I've said 1,000 times, and I'll keep saying it. I think partnerships are the way that small companies can grow quickly and successfully. So that is definitely on the table, and I do like a good deal for all parties, and when it makes sense, it's there. So with regard to this round, I think that's kind of the next big thing in that question. With regards to this round and the financing, the other thing you guys have to remember here is that we got approved. We are currently under the Fed Dev program for $2.25 million. So and we've consumed some of that, a small amount. I have to check with the last, but say $500,000. So out of that, we still have a lot of funding that is a matching contribution. To our investors. So if we're coming in with 2 million, let's say on this financing round, there's an extra 1.75 from Fed Dev on there. So now you're looking at bigger, better numbers, right? And that's so I think that helps paint a picture. And a lot of people forget about that Fed Dev program. It's very interesting. I'm not going to spend my time explaining the program, but feel free to look it up and how it works. But yeah, that's always in the hopper as well, and it's going to match those numbers.
Gotcha. Okay, TM says, can you provide some background on your manufacturing process? What's owned, what's outsourced, and how should we think about capacity to scale manufacturing?
Yeah, great question. So our strategy has always been to, as the generation of the product evolves, so as we get further into that generation, we take on more and more of the design and manufacturing process in-house. So for example, the Backpack Energy Backpack Pro, these are V4s. We're actually on just about to launch 4.5 version 4.5 of this. It has been around. That is, our flagship product. It's been around for quite a while. We start at the cell and we design everything else from there. Okay. So we got your module, your steel, your racking, all your sensors, temperature sensors, your voltage taps, everything. And then you got your power electronics and stuff like that. Now, there's still some work to be done. The power electronics are all of their custom made for us. We don't actually manufacture them. We don't own the design. Like we don't make that design. We just say, hey, this is what we want to design it to this. And then we vet that design. So there's still work to be done on that, but it's 90-something% there, right? The Spark and the Cube, the Spark Cube and the Terra, those are kind of later addition. They've just been recently added to our product lineup. Those are going to be a little bit more cautious because we don't want to enter the market and spend $1 million on engineering a product that nobody wants, right? So we're kind of tiptoeing ourselves in with a heavier reliance on other suppliers, right? Who are going to make not just the cells, but the modules and the battery management systems. And maybe we'll go to another for the power conversion, but the whole control systems, the assembly system, the encasement and all that kind of stuff, the HVAC, all that is all going to be ours. So, and then as the generation evolves, then we look at, okay, where can we, one, gain more margin, two, gain more control and more flexibility on this product. And then we make the decision to expand on that and invest in that portion of the product until hopefully at a certain point, the whole thing is just really yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, next question comes in from Shai. He says, is remote monitoring an additional revenue engine or is the service bundled with the hardware?
So it's an additional, it's not bundled with the hardware. It's fully optional. We're gonna tease people with a little bit of a free trial, and then keep them hooked. That's the goal. So we can hopefully have them for years on end on this plan. also has a cost savings aspect for us. So that's another big part of this is that say you have an issue with your unit, whether it be warranty or non-warranted, um, we can actually tap into the back end of this and very quickly see if it's a software issue and repair it. So if it is a software issue, we can just tap into that and do an update. And if it's a hardware issue, we can actually identify the part. And instead of having, spending an hour, 2 hours, this, the product coming in, us a technician looking at it and trying to figure out what it is, this can all be done with the customer in 15 minutes. Or even without the customer, as long as the unit's on, we can actually see all that stuff. So then we can identify the part. We can send the part to a local partner. They can swap it out. They know exactly what to do. We can send them the manual and the part at the same time on how to do it. And it's a lot more efficient, but we can charge the same amount for that repair. So it's a lot more efficient from that side of that point of view. And it's also going to lower our warranty cost. Now, the other additional point to this is that we're also increasing our data capability. So we have all this data now, all these units out there working in different environments, and we can see how we should be designing our future products based on all that data. Yeah. It also has we kind of alluded to this, but it also has that really cool AI play where we can use it to do kind of a machine learning thing. For example, a Spark Cube, it can identify if solar is going to be, or if there's a windstorm coming in and, or a storm coming in and we're not going to be able to produce solar. Well, let's top up the batteries with generator first. So it can make these intelligent decisions without us actually having to identify and do anything manually. So there is this kind of cool machine learning play that's going to come into place after.
Is this sort of remote monitoring? What sort of communication device? Is it satellite? Is it cell? Is it Wi-Fi? Is it all the above? What can you tell us anything here?
So it's going to launch with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular communication. We do have the option doing a satellite. That's kind of if we get into that space kind of experiment. It's not super popular. I mean, who's out there not capable
Depends.
Of,
yeah,
exactly. And with the advent of Starlink, and internet, satellite internet, it's made the use for that a little bit lesser. But there's that capability if we need to.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Okay, Russell says, can you speak to the hybrid power tower all-in-one inverter? I didn't see this one in the presentation or on your website. Does it sell well?
The power tower inverter, that was a project from a long time ago. So it's we stopped making that I want to say 3 years ago. So it's no longer in the picture. We had for a while a residential arm to our business, and although it did help especially through COVID, it got us through COVID, which is great. A lot of people were spending money on their homes. That turned out to be in the long run, it just wasn't the right move for our business. We've been historically a B2B company. That's where our skill set lies. We decided we need to pour our very limited resources into expanding that side of the business. So we don't focus on the power tower anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Nev asks, any IP or patent protected tech, foreign markets distribution for markets like Africa or LATAM due to historic and recurrent grid issues? Question mark. 2 questions there.
Yep. So on the IP front, yes, we have, I believe, 5 patents right now in different stages, some awarded, some in patent pending. You can't just patent this as a concept. The idea of taking a battery, having a solar charger, and having a power inverter and and an AC charger, that's not novel in any way. So what you have to do is you have to get very specific on what makes your product better than the competition and protect that. So for example, this is all public information. This is press release stuff. So for example, we're kind of in the final stages of a new way of heating up batteries. So if you're not familiar with batteries, below 0 degrees Celsius, below freezing, standard lithium will not charge. You cannot charge it. Okay. So right now what we do is we have some silicone sandwich heaters, some heating pads, and we turn that on when it gets below 0. And that allows us to continue to operate, charge and discharge no matter what the temperature is. It's great. It's kind of inefficient. So what we've designed is a high frequency short circuiting system. So on the battery, we actually short circuit it 100,000 times a second. And we've played around the frequency to get the frequency that we need. And essentially creating a chemical way or an internal way of heating up the battery. What that does is it's the most efficient way because you're not generating any heat outside, you're just generating all the heat inside. And you're capable of heating up the battery in a fraction of the time, and you're also doing it with a lot less power. So that's kind of the things that we're working on to make sure that we're ahead of the game.
And then the issues around foreign markets distribution in Africa and Latin America. Do you have any connections into those markets?
Yeah, so we've got some pretty good contacts within the Nigerian space, which is kind of our gateway to Africa. I think the less, and we have a great partner, the Canadian Nigerian. They have a foot in each country. I think the big lesson with that is that it just takes time. These countries do not move quickly, and you also want to ensure that you're getting paid. And so having a third party that's in between us helps a lot with that. But also making sure you're playing with the right people. And this is funded by, EU, Canada, or the US in those foreign markets. There's some complexities there. And I think as our team grows and as our revenue grows, we'll have more time and effort dedicated to those markets. Because you're right, the instability within the grid, the expansion of their economies, it's a great place to be. And there's also resentment against Asian products. There's some friction there, and so I think it's ripe for the taking, but it is one you have to be cautious, and it's definitely an adventure that you have to be prepared for.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, we'll take the last set of questions here from Shai. He says, at scale, what percentage of total revenue do you expect remote monitoring to contribute to overall sales?
That is a toughie. Yeah, based on our projections, we're thinking right around 25% adoption rate once we really promote and start launching this. So, if you're starting to think 1,000 units a year, I'm just going to use that because it's easy math. You're talking to 250 times $20 times 12 months. So it's a good size revenue. It's hard to predict at this point in time, especially it's just hard to predict across the board because we're kind of seeing a fairly large market shift. What we've gone through with both tariffs and just the militarization of Western countries. You might get a really big purchase order that swings things one way or another. So it is hard to tell. I hope that sort of answers your question.
Is it commercialized right now? Are you actually selling these services, or is it still on its way?
It's in beta. Yeah. So we're right now testing with Bell and Rogers on their networks.
Yeah.
So moving into full scale adoption probably in end of Q1 of 2026.
Yeah. I mean, and this would likely be very high margin revenue. I can't imagine there's a lot of cost to this type of service.
No, there's not a lot of cost. A lot of it's just that upfront cost, which is, already been sunk into it. And then it's just recouping the cost and then increasing that value. Now, I think that there's a good potential there for this system to be licensed. What's kind of cool about it is that we have the capability of bringing in anything that's CAN bus or Modbus. So if you're talking vehicles, if you're talking other electronics, it's kind of the two most common languages out there. So there's a potential for us to actually sell this as just a licensed individual product by itself. There's also the capability of integrating into larger systems. So let's go back to that truck or vehicle. Right now, we can actually grab all that information from your truck, and with some customizations for the customers, we could potentially give all that information to the end user. So, for example, a fleet manager of a large trucking company that has 3,000, 4,000 vehicles, they might want to see all the engine data and all that kind of stuff on top of all our battery systems. And they typically have to pay a separate system. Well, no, now you can plug it in, we'll do some software on our side, and then we'll have that fully integrated for the client. So there's a huge amount of potential that we've just unlocked by having this whole software platform here.
Gotcha. Francois, what new initiative are you the most excited about? What are you looking forward to the most?
Ooh, that's a toughie. There's a lot of stuff I can't talk about. I am sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of really exciting stuff I just can't disclose. So maybe on the what I can talk about on the disclosure side. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Look, I'm a sucker for the Backpack Pro. It's one of our earlier products, and it's just going through kind of this update. I alluded to the version 4.5, and from from a customer's point of view, might want change, but from an engineering point of view, it's just really improved reliability, its simplicity, and its design on the
Mhm.
inside. I'm really excited about. I'm geeking out a little bit here, but I'm just it opens up that base design opens up scalability for us. It it's going to have that new flexibility to be like, this is not just a kind of 100 units a year product. This is like thousands. And if we want to get into truly like that large, we're talking 5, 10,000 units. The only thing we can take the guts of that thing, put it in pay for an injection mold, pay
Mhm.
the $250,000 for the injection mold, and then make these things in cases that are 20 to $50 a pop, right? And really start punching these out. And I think that's what I'm really excited about, is that we're starting to achieve that level of sophistication within the system that we're proud of. And that's going to help us take us to the next level.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then kind of on that note, what do you think from an investor standpoint, what are the catalysts or maybe metrics that we should pay the most attention to?
Yeah. I think one thing we've done well as a company on the IR side is that we have been very good at painting a story with our press releases. And there's a lot in those press releases, but there's even more between the lines. And I think you guys really paying attention to those press releases
Mhm.
and who we're working with will give you a very, very good picture of where we think we're going to be in a year. So I think that's the stuff that I would say is those partnerships are significant. They will continue to be significant, and there's a lot there. And so I think a lot of the press releases you saw in 2025 were like, hey, we just got that in. It took us a year, but we finally got that initial customer to say yes, let's try this thing
Mhm.
out. What we're hoping for 2026 is not just yes, they're trying it out. It's yes, they're trying it out, but this other customer that we said yes trying it out 6 months ago or a year ago is now saying yes in a much bigger way. And I think that's
Mhm.
going to be really exciting for 2026. And I'm talking already in the next year. We're in November, so chalk it up
Yeah,
for the end
yeah,
of the year. But
exactly.
yeah,
We're right around the corner. Yeah.
yeah,
Francois, this has been great. Any key message you want to make sure everybody walks away with today?
yeah. Look, I pride myself, and I pride, and the pride of our team here is to be absolutely straightforward and honest and transparent with what we do. I think that's missing within the microcaps, the small caps, or actually any publicly traded company out there. Um, Open invite to all of our investors to come see our facility, come meet me, have coffee, whatever it is. We understand that this is an upwards fight. This is a struggle. This is difficult. It is. But I think we're doing a really good job of lining ourselves up to get to that next level, and we do it through transparency. And yeah, look, pick up the phone, call me. My number is unfortunately plastered all over the internet, and we'll definitely provide the email for that. Invest at HPS. At hybridps.ca, excuse me, is the email to get in hold of me. Yeah, ask your questions. If you've got ideas, if you've got things you want to get off your back, if you've got doubts, talk to me. It's the best way to make sure that we're all aligned and that we're improving the potential for this company.
Yeah. I should have asked where's the facility?
Yeah, we're just based on the west side of Toronto. So we're in Etobicoke South, right off the Gardiner. If you're GTA, come on down. If you're from somewhere else and you want to make the flight down, happy to entertain you. I've got investors. I got little retail investors. I don't want to say little. I've got retail investors coming in tomorrow for a couple hours, and I've got the big boys as well throughout the week. So it's I love to do that. I love to show people what we do and truly pick up, feel, touch what we see. It's
Mhm.
it's rare. There's a lot of AI plays out there that you can't even play
Yeah.
with, you can't even touch. We're a little bit different, and we have a lot of investors who are also our customers. So that's saying
That
something.
that helps for sure.
Yeah.
Well, great, fantastic. We've been speaking with Francois Byrne, CEO and founder of Hybrid Power Solutions, HPSS on the CSE. Francois, thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to the next time we can catch up.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye for now.